Thank you. So welcome everyone to today's session. This is our first session, group of operators, definition and implication. This is a session on adapt your ICS to the new EU organic regulation. This is a training that have so much implication on our businesses that we cannot neglect, we cannot, put aside. We have to follow the rules as the rules has been set for us to be able to sell to EU countries. So welcome. My name is Olaomi Benedict. We had a session, introductory session last week with my colleague Brian, and we will be your facilitator course for the next 3 weeks. And I know we're going to have a wonderful time, and feel free at any point in time to ask us questions, send us chats, and we'll be there for you throughout the session. For today's agenda, we'll be having an ice break session after this agenda. Share with us the agenda for today. We're going to have a recap on the introductory session that we did and try to look at the few things in the introductory session. And then we're going to dive into the definition and composition of group of operators. This is where you really need to pay maximum attention because you just have to get the information right from the beginning. And then we go to a group discussion where we talk about understanding the fund size limits. Sorry for that. Where we're going to have a group discussion on understanding farm size limits. And we're going to be you are going to be asking different questions. We share with you also different scenarios, and then you can have a full understanding of how this definition is going to play out for every one of us. Then also, we're going to look at the implication of the group setup for currently certified groups. What are the implications for them? What are the things that they need to have done or they should be doing now? And what are the things that they are going to do or must do? And then the last, we have other clarification question. We talk about the assignment and the quiz for the week, and then we call it a day. So we go to the icebreaker now, and we'll try to ginger ourselves, coming from the weekend and looking at how the weekend is. Let's start on a very good note. Let's interact. Let's speak out. So Brian, let's look at the icebreaker for the week. Okay.
Okay, good. Yeah.
Okay, so the icebreaker, there's this fantastic question that has been said. If you were to be an animal, which animal would you be and why? Why would you be that animal? I want to know. If something happened, or if God has created you as an animal, or if God tells you that, oh, I want to grant you a wish, and the wish is for you to be an animal for just 1 day or for 30 seconds. Which animal will you love to be? And why will you love to be that animal? Kindly drop your responses in the group chat. We want to know which animal you want to be and why you want to be that animal. Let's keep dropping. Let's keep dropping. Oh, Baffle said, I would love to be a vulture. Wow. I'm scared. Bright says, I would like to be an eagle because it renews itself. That is so deep. Fred says, I would like to be a tiger, calm and courageous. Are tigers calm? I always think they are dangerous, so I don't see the calmness in them at all. Imana says, I would love to be a lion, so fearless and strong. Yes, we all are afraid of lion. I always remember the Lion King, when we were small, watching the Lion King, we are always scared of this lion. Oh, and then we ask ourselves as we grow up, oh, can lion talk? Really, looking at that cartoon. Vincent said, I like to be a honey badger. It's the most fearless animal. Hmm. Yeah, 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 yeah. Hmm. Yeah, yeah. Okay, let's keep dropping. Let's keep Margaret. I've not seen what you like to be. Messi, I'm waiting. Iso Tenadu. Margaret, I wouldn't want to be like a serpent, but it's wise. Wow, yes. A serpent is very smart, very wise. Yes, yes, that's a serpent. Olivia, we're waiting for you. John, we're waiting for you. What would you like to be? What would you like to be? Okay, Dinah said, I would like to be a cat, friendly and keep unwanted pests away. Wow. Wow, then you'll be so roomy, you'll be in the house, everybody will love to see you around and just see cats. Wow, thank you for sharing. So we have 1 minute and then we're going to dive straight into this definition that we all have to understand. Thank you, thank you so much. 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 Olivia says she would like to be a dog. Very alert. Yes, the dog is very alert, very alert, very alert. So on this note, thank you all for sharing who you like to be, the animal that you would like to be if there's a chance for us to be an animal. And Messi says, I would like to be a lion, strong. Yes, the lion is always strong, very strong and animal. Yes, thank you for sharing the personality of the animal that you like to be or you have loved to be. And thank you for sharing with us why you loved that animal. And I'm going to hand over to my colleague, Brian, and then he's going to take us into today's session. Thank you, and over to you, Brian.
Thank you so much. Allow me. That was exciting to see what attributes we all yearn to have, and especially the animals that we admire most. So that's exciting to see. Hi everyone, good to see you today. Welcome. I don't know whether everybody was here last week on Monday when we had an introduction and talked a little bit about who we are. So I'm Brian. I'm Ugandan, but currently sitting in Nairobi. But yeah, we'll be taking you through the session together with my colleague Olaomi. So before we get started, we just wanted to do a little bit of recap of things we covered last Monday, so that we are all connected, especially those who are joining us for the first time. Um, so why are we here? Just a little recap. Why are we here? It's basically to introduce to you this new EU organic regulation and the implications it has for organic producers and exporters to the EU. We want to discuss these requirements and especially again zoning into the specific requirements that affect you and the work you do. The other goal is also to connect all of you. I know we have participants from Ghana, from Nigeria, from Uganda. I mean, we're in different contexts, but we are dealing with the same quote unquote problem. So there is an opportunity in sharing, in learning from each other, and we hope this training can also foster that. And lastly, of course, to share as much information as we have, obviously through the training, but also any other, documents, experiences, case studies that we see, we shall also be sharing via the online platform. So these are the objectives, and we shall keep reminding ourselves that this is what we are driving towards. And in the event that we don't seem to be achieving it, then of course we can course correct if we're still together through the training. And of course, your feedback is very important as we go. So if you see us, you know, not well aligned with it, please call us out and let's make sure that we are connected to it. Of course, the main focus is this new EU organic regulation 2018-848. I mean, that's the mother regulation that we refer to, but of course there are different acts, as I mentioned, over 25 secondary acts that go into detail. So the 2018-848 gives really the high level big picture of things, but then when you want to dig into details, for example, a list of allowed substances, some details about the ICS. So all of them are linked. So they are different connected acts that together form what we are calling the new organic regulation. So don't be um, confused or when you see, different codings, the core you should be reading is the 2018-848. And obviously there will be links to these other ones because as you can see from the years, they came later. 2018 was the first and then all these secondary acts came rather later. And of course, there are links for you to, if you want to really read and understand for yourself. Um, This is also important and, to mention, we talked about, when is it, and I know it's a question for all of you, when is this new regulation coming into full force? As you see, and again, I'm trying to not read everything because we went through it last time. You will see that this regulation came into force from January 2022, but and provided us 3 years of transition. 2020, the rest of 2022, 2023, 2024, and all operators are supposed to comply by the 1st of January 2025. That's why you see it in red. That's when any certification beyond January, 1st January 2025 should be according to this new regulation. However, recognizing that many, especially operators in developing countries, like most of us, have had a few challenges, transitioning. So there is a window, a derogation window that has been provided, which goes until mid-October 2025. And that window has its own limitations. It will only apply, as I mentioned last time, it applies to operators that have already made the application, in other words, shown interest to start the process of complying with the new requirements. And when the certification body they've applied to has also been, recognized, because even certification bodies have gone to go through a process of recognition according to the new regulation. So this is something that I think needs to be done at your organization level, meaning your CEO, your manager, whoever it is, has to express interest, make the application to the certification body. And obviously, the certification body should confirm that the application is been accepted and in the process. And then, of course, you can use that. But for you to do that, you should also have a valid certificate, meaning from the old regulation. So meaning, yes, you've expressed interest, but you also have a valid certificate according to the old regulation. So as you apply to, to have this little extension, make sure that, your renewal has happened. And as I mentioned, if we take from today, if you only have between today and the 31st of December 2024 to get a certificate according to the old regulation. Anything beyond January 1st should be according to the new. So that is a bit of discussion you need to have with your certification body in order to benefit from this derogation period that has been allowed or provided. I hope that is again, I labor to explain it a lot because I know it can bring a bit of confusion. But if you have more questions, please put them in the chat and my colleague Olaomi will capture them. And when we reach the point of discussion, I can look at them in detail. But for now, I beg to proceed. Another reminder, which is very important, is in this new regulation, we are dealing with compliance, not equivalence as per the old, meaning that the requirements that have been set in the new regulation apply to all producers, whether within the EU or outside the EU. So in the old, for some of you know that some standards were deemed equivalent to the EU and you could get certified according to those standards and then you export the EU. Some country, those standards could be for country, they could be for certification body, etc., etc. For in the new regulation, it's about all of us complying to the same rules. That's why the new regulation is quite detailed, because if we are to achieve compliance, then we need to go to the real detail of, in terms of definition, in terms of understanding, in terms of, so that again, we can achieve compliance. Otherwise, if things remain hanging and not well explained, then compliance becomes very difficult. So in the old regulation, some of you know that there were some countries that were deemed equivalent to the EU, and countries would get certification direct. In Africa, it's only Tunisia that had that window, but that is also now has to be renegotiated, and they have until 2026 to renegotiate that. But that does not apply to any of you, the three countries that are represented here, so I don't want to spend a lot of time. Just for your information, if that's all you take for comment. As I mentioned before this course, we've divided, based on the main, again, we are not covering everything, and we really encourage you to go to the regulation if you want details, but we've really captured most of the important things that we think you need to know. And we've divided the training into 3 modules, as you see on your screen. Today or this week, we are handling module 1, which is the definition and composition of group of operators. Next week, we shall handle module 2, and the other week, we shall handle module 3. Why do I say week? Is because yes, today we are having a main session of this module 1, 2 hours, and then on Friday, we shall have a debrief of the same module, and we shall explain at the end of the session how we are going to run that session. So we're giving ourselves more time to really, do an assignment related to the same. Also have a debrief session where we talk and a few exercises, really to just build that understanding. And we hope with that structure, you can actually come out with better understanding of the requirements. And to remind ourselves, yes, we set a few rules in terms of what we expect from you, the participants. We expect that you will attend all sessions, meaning the main session always on Monday and the debrief session on Fridays. So that's what it means, 6 sessions in other words. Of course, there was an introductory session last Monday, but that was, we are not paying a lot of emphasis because it was just an overview, setting the stage, getting us started. But these 3 weeks are really important that you attend all the sessions. I remember for those of you who attended, we gave a little window that in the event that you're not able to attend, please notify us in advance. But even in that case, we shall accept only not below 70% attendance. Because again, when you get a certificate, you expect to know certain things. You don't want to misrepresent colleagues that you are trained and you have their certificate, and some of the things are still we didn't really understand them. So for attendance, yes, there is a little window, though you have to notify us in advance. But number 2, even when you don't attend, we expect that you will submit all assignments and you will do all quizzes. So that's a little bit not negotiable. So we shall explain for this week the assignment and the quiz that will come at the end of the session. Yeah, as always, and I've seen most of you are obliging, keeping yourself on mute during the session, raising your hand if you have to speak. we didn't include here, but you can also type in the chat. If you have any query, maybe you don't hear me well, whatever it is, please, my colleague is monitoring this. Keep your camera off, but if you feel you have a good bandwidth, but for our colleagues who may not have a good bandwidth, that's why we say we all keep off, except the presenters, just to make sure that everybody can follow. Please participate, share your experiences. I see you've started, so please share. If you can't get off mute and talk, at least you can type. Please, we want to hear, and that's why sometimes we call your name. You know, when we hear you're not saying the thing, then we shall be calling your name. So just to make sure that everybody is moving along. And of course, if you feel you've missed anything or you didn't understand it well, you can always go back to the recorded session and try to familiarize yourself with whatever we discussed. Great. So we are now starting today's session. That was all the recap. Allow me any question in the chat before I go? I continue?
Oh, no, not yet.
Okay. The assumption is that we are good. Great. So, and I'll try for this part, to go a little bit slower. I know, and I'm monitoring the time. I don't want us to be caught up, but I want to go a little slower to make sure that we are going together because some of the things we're going to discuss are really important. I presented this slide on last week, and I'm presenting it again because that's the core of what we're discussing. We are talking about the group of operators. This is one of the new and critical requirements of the new standard. In the old standard, we're not talking about groups of operators. We're talking about ICS groups, and it had different variation of that. Some in cooperative, some in contracted production, many different variations. In this new regulation, we have a clear definition of who can be certified as a group. And that's what we are calling the group of operators. There is a clear definition of who can be a member of that group, the maximum size, the identity. Many things are really prescribed. And we're going to discuss one at a time, one of these characteristics at a time. Meaning that if whatever group we are talking about, if it doesn't comply with these requirements, then already it can't be certified as a group of operators. So let's start with, maybe before I go, the top one, and I really want to emphasize that. And this is right from the standard. The group of operators is composed of only members who are farmers. So when we say a group of operators, we're talking about farmers. In the old, I know for some of you, we had where you have contract production and then the companies, is covered under the same certification with the farmers. That we are going to talk in detail, but that's not recognized in the new standard. It's only group of farmers that can be certified under this group of operators requirement. Besides being farmers, there are also other requirements. In other words, the definition of that farmer. What kind of farmer can be part of? Yes, we've understood they have to be farmers. Number one, tick. So what type of farmer are we talking about? We are talking about a farmer who has less or equal to 5 hectares of total land. Total land, total agricultural land. And this, when we say total agricultural land, we include all land that the farmer holds, including rented land or leased land. A farmer hires or leases a portion of land that is still part of the total holding of that farmer. The only exception is forest land. That in that total. So when you're talking about a certain farmer, David, we shall add the land where he grows. Maybe let's imagine he's main crop is mango. We shall include the plots where he has mangoes. We shall include the plots where he grows his home food, where he grows his yams, his cassava, etc. We shall also include the land that is hired or rented to grow additional food. We shall include all the fallow land, land that is not using currently, but he owns it and he can use it for agricultural production if he so wishes. We shall only exclude forest land. But if that forest land is used for any production activity, either they are doing beekeeping or some form of aquaculture or wild collection, then we shall include it. We will not exclude it. We only exclude it if it's just forest. But if it's being used for any other production, honey production, wild harvesting like herbs, mushrooms, etc., then we shall include it in the 5 hectares of land. For those of you that use acres, and I think my colleagues from Uganda, normally speak in terms of acres, we are talking about around if you multiply by 2.5, so it's around 12.5 acres of land. That is the first criterion. Yes, number one, he has to be a farmer. Number two, that farmer has to have a total holding of 5 hectares or less. The question is, if they have more than 5 hectares, if you add all those parcels of land where they grow their home food, where they grow their commercial product, everything, and they are more than 5 hectares, does that dismiss them completely? No. Then there is a second criterion that we can check them again. And this is their turnover, their organic sales. And when we talk about turnover, so meaning this, you only go to level 2 for only large farms, the ones that are more than 5 hectares. And you have to go to the second criterion and check whether they can still comply. Because we know, true, there are some farmers that have huge chunks of land, but actually when you look at the turnover, it's really not big enough. So and again, when you talk about turnover, we are meaning organic sales. So if mango is their organic product that they are selling from the farm, that's what we are referring to. If they have any other thing that they are selling to the local market or to other markets that is not sold as organic, no, that's not our focus here. We are focusing on what they are selling as organic from their farm cumulatively for the year. I hope that is clear. And that should not be more than 25,000 euros. Of course, you can change it into local currency. You can, convert that. So, if a farmer fails those 2 assessment, meaning their land is bigger than 5 hectares, their turnover is more than 25,000 euros, then they can't be part of a group of operators. The alternative is that they can only be certified as one entity, as an operator themselves, as a single farm. But they can't be certified as part of a group of operators. For the farmers that have land more than 5 hectares, but have less than 25,000 euros organic sales accrued over the year, those can be part of the group of operators. But of course, as the ICS manager, whenever the inspector sees a farmer that is bigger than 5 hectares, they will check with you whether you actually did the next assessment to see that these farmers actually don't have sales beyond this limit, and that's why you're keeping them on the farmers list. Hope that's clear. Let's continue to have a chance to listen to questions. And this is what I've been explaining before, what we mean by holding. All land units, I wish I underlined this, that's why I'm bolding it. All land units operated by the farmer for the purpose of producing live or unprocessed agricultural products, including products originating from aquaculture and beekeeping. And the question, like an example of a question, does the 5 hectare refer to only the organic field? No, it includes everything operated by the farmer. The only exception is forest land. But if the forest land is used for active production of, honey, culture, wild collection, we still consider that as part of the total holding of the farmer. I hope we are clear on that. And of course, this is what I was explaining, the second criteria. So we're talking about size of land, then this is about the turnover. Like I said, sales, organic sales from the farm to the group, accrued over the year or throughout the year, changed in local currency. That's what we consider, and we calculate based on the price, the farm gate price, what the farmer receives when they are selling, not any other, not what ultimately they receive from the export, but what the farm gate price. Any subsidies, whatever, that's not included in there. Of course, somebody would ask, what about variation in volume, in prices, in exchange rates? We go back to the time of sale. It's very clear. There are many. You can actually even know the exchange rate, for example, what it was on the 15th of January, 2024. So, I mean, there are ways of tracking that, and then changing and totaling everything into euro equivalent, and we can assess that it's still below the 25,000. So what happens to our large farms that don't are bigger? I think that's what I talk about. If a farmer is bigger than 5 hectares and it sells more than 25,000 euros per year, then it cannot be a member of the group of operators. So in that case, the farm can only be certified as an individual farm, but by a recognized certification body. Sorry, can you give me a second? I'm sorry. Let's continue. So I'm saying, so if a farm is individually certified, can it sell to the cooperative or the exporter? Yes, it can. It can sell if it's individually certified. It can, and I think that is already happening. Locally between certified entities, they can sell between each other. You don't need a transaction certificate or certificate of inspection for you to do that. But if it's a different certification body, then definitely it's important to notify the certification body that you are buying from another entity. So in other words, what we are saying, for the big farms, it's not all lost. So when they are certified independently, it doesn't mean that they can't legally be part of the cooperative and transact with them, but they have to have their own certification to do that. Going to another requirement, a group of operators, yes, we said it's farmers. They have to have a certain land holding and a certain amount of sales, but there's also a limit to how many of those farmers can be part of a group of operators. The requirement is they should be less than 2,000, a maximum of 2,000, so less or equal to 2,000 farmers that can organize and a group of operators. which I think for most of you online, and when we looked at your where you're coming from, I don't think that's a big issue in terms of, you know, size of your group. It's just a question of yeah, those entities. I think the next requirement is where most of you uh, will need to pay more attention. So they have to be 2,000 or less. That's number one. Number two, they need to be a legal personality. They need to be certified. Sorry, they have to be registered as a legal personality. That definition of legal personality depends on the country where you're based, because there are different requirements. And when a certification body or the inspector comes, they will refer to your local requirements in terms of, you know, if what the legal entity the group has really complies with the local requirements. But why it's important for them to be a legal entity? Because number one, they're going to be transacting as an entity. So they need to legal personality. They're going to be applying for their own inspection. They'll have a certificate in their name, etc., etc. So it's important that they are a legal entity. And like I said, this is most of your groups are smaller in size, and the standard does not talk about the minimum number of farmers that a group of operators should be. However, it mentions that for any inspection, somewhere in terms of minimum size of inspection, talks about 10 farmers to be minimally inspected. So, and again, I mean, if you are less than, it normally doesn't make commercial sense if you are too few to be doing this, unless you're dealing with a very high value product. But there is no minimum, so to speak. I think that's what I was going to emphasize. It only sets the maximum. So the minimum should be set by the viability of whatever you're doing. If you think less than 10, you still make business sense, you can still certify as a group of operators. The standard does not limit that. Yes, this is what I was talking about, legal personality. Very, very important. Yes, to, for purposes of doing business, because you're going to be signing agreements, all that is important. And this will vary depending on the country. And I'm sure most of you online know what's required in your country. Then there is a requirement around geographical proximity. I hope you, on the earlier slide I mentioned, say yes, we are saying they have to be farmers, they have to have a certain size of land, they have to have a certain amount of sales, they have to be registered. They should not go beyond a certain number, not more than 2,000. But then the question is, oh, so if I go to my country, can I collect farmers from east, west, north, south, and then we come together and form a group of operators? The standard is not explicit on that, on how much distance between the farmers, and because again, it's really contextual. It depends on how easy it is. I know some regions of some countries, if you've been to Ethiopia or even Western Uganda, farmers are near, but actually far from each other. If because when they are in mountainous areas, so you have to go down and climb, and so distance in itself is not a good factor. But this is really subject to what you, the ICS, have defined as something that will make sense. Because these farmers are working as a group. They have to be trained together in most cases. You can have some subgroups or not. They have to market together with some element of collective marketing. You know, and a functioning ICS requires that farmers can also meet, can also learn from each other, all those elements. So if you can demonstrate that the farmers you're bringing together into one group of operators can do all that, irrespective of the distances between them, you can pass. The standard does not limit on that. I know, and again, why you see a mention on the screen that we are saying is geographical proximity within one region. I think it could make sense if your country is operating within a decentralized system. You remember at one point we were talking about legal personality. In some countries, farmer groups are registered at a regional level. They are not registered centrally. So if you are in the south, north, then you get your recognition within that geographical context. Then I think in that case, not I think, but in that case, it would make sense that all farmers within that group are within that geographical context. It would not make sense to get farmers from another region, from another, and then bring them all together. I've seen this work in Ethiopia, as I mentioned in the last discussion that I've been supporting a coffee cooperative there, and it only makes sense that the geographical proximity definition is defined at a regional level. So farmers within the same region, that is, they're close enough and can function well. If you're working in a more centralized system, like Uganda is, then yes, you can have farmers under the same group of operators in different locations of the country, but you may need to put in some bit of some bit of clustering, in the different locations for purposes of marketing and for purposes of ensuring that at least farmers in one pocket are talking to each other and, they are maximizing. And then when you're building your ICS, you need to also bring in elements of farmers from different pockets also kind of converging at some point because this is their entity. So at some point, they really need to know who are the farmers from this other pocket, what are they doing, and then they can also define the same rules of operation under the same group of operators. I'm happy to discuss more in detail if you can provide me a few examples to see how this could apply for different contexts. So I would like to pause before we go into I know I've fed you a lot of information from these few slides. I'm happy to flip back to any slide before we go into a bit of more discussion of land holding and, which is was the next slide I showed. But yeah, happy to hear any questions and comments in the chat for us to share some experiences. We still have some minutes to do that. Allow me anything in the chat?
Yes, please. Thank you, Brian. So there's a question from Vincent. Do we as well include land with livestock structures and agro-tourism resort, land with a farmer's market? This is his question. And we have another question from Fred. What are the requirements for certifying farmers who have failed the group requirements as individual certification?
Okay, maybe let's first handle Vincent's question.
Another question, so we take the third one. What about the group of operators that has farmers not committed to organic farming? So let's limit it to the three. Okay. And if any other person has a question and you want to ask directly, you can raise your hand. Thank you.
Okay, let's start with Vincent's question. And, he's talking about different, so he talked about land for agro-tourism, land for the farmers market, and what was the other one? There was a third, sorry, I'm not seeing the chat because I'm...
Structure.
Farm structure.
Okay. Yeah, livestock structure.
Oh, livestock, okay, livestock structure. So, and I think let's revisit the definition because that would help us to understand this better. So we are referring to all production units operated by the farmer or the group of operator member for the purpose of producing live or unprocessed agricultural products. So let's look. So when it's agrotourism, obviously that does not fit this definition, so that we shall cross. So if on the farm you have normally, I mean, if you have any set aside land or part of the farm that is just for agrotourism, whichever type of agrotourism is happening, then it will not be counted. But if that land that you're using for agrotourism is also used for producing live, and then we count it. So that's the little bit. If it's not used for any production, then it's not part of. The same applies to the farmers market. There's no production coming out of that. And then the same applies to livestock housing or structures, you called it. And I think this also applies to the farmer's house and maybe home space, all that is not used uh, for production purposes. Then we would, normally it's a very small portion of the land, but for purposes of clarity, we can exclude those little portions from the total holding that we're talking about. Vincent, does that sound fine or clear? I don't know. I can't see whether he said yes or no.
He has said thumbs up, so yes.
Okay, that's good. Thanks. Then we had Fred. What are the requirements for certifying farmers who have failed the group requirements as it is? The requirement is that they have to make an application. They have to make a separate application from the group of operators application. And the application is to be certified as an individual entity. Obviously, when they make an application or they write to the certification body, then they'll give them details of what they need to hear from them, what kind of documentation they need about the farm, any details they need from that farm. Simply, that's what it is. They have to follow a different procedure from the group of operators. And obviously, by contacting the certification body, they will get to know all the details. Please let me know if that answers your question. What about group of operators that has farmers not committed to organic farming, i.e. has both organic and conventional farmers? That is an interesting question. But normally, and again, I always like using the definition and quoting them as so I hope I have the definition here quoted in the slide, but maybe not. So a group of operators is for organic farmers. I think let's make that very clear. If by any chance, for example, I know some cooperatives may have organic farmers and non-organic farmers. For the group of operators, they may have to split to have a organic farmers alone and the conventional farmers remain as part of the mother cooperative. But for the purpose of organic certification, they need to form their separate group of operator entities. It can't be the same conventional farmers together with organic. There is, however, a little provision, meaning that an organic farmer may produce some non-organic crops or products, so long as they are clearly separated from the organic. So, for example, and it can't be the same crop. So, if you're registered to do, again, I'll go back to my example of mango. You are a member of the group of operators, and you're supplying mango as the organic product. So whatever other crop you're producing as conventional can't be mango. It has to be a different crop. You can't produce the same crop in two different qualities. So you can produce you are an organic farmer, but producing some conventional products, which are not the same as the one you're producing. But primarily you have to be an organic farmer. So meaning the group you have to belong to, only the group of operators has to have organic farmers. So conventional farmers that are not producing anything organic, that are not weeding, as you put in your comment, those can't be part of the group of operators. Does that answer your question? Because I know that one is a little tricky. It's a good question, but rather can be tricky. And maybe the other thing I didn't mention, a farmer, talk about a farmer, Brian, I can be in more than one group of operators. That one is also allowed, so long as it's for different, it can be for the same crop. Again, if you are an ICS manager, you understand where that is coming from, because we don't want, to compromise on any, yield estimates and things like that, which are already covered by one. And then when you put MATPO, and then for purposes of monitoring, it becomes quite complex. But yes, I can be in one group for mangoes, and then I'm a member of another group for pineapple. It's also allowed, so long as again there's clear, it's declared very clearly in the ICS, and ultimately monitored accordingly. I saw Pepra had said, I want to ask a question. Pepra, do you want to unmute and ask your question?
I want to ask a question and also probably comment.
Yeah.
There is a big challenge when it comes to farmers forming an association in our part of the world. I have several farmers who are into organic, either in transition or organic in default. But difficult getting them together to form an association. So we are taking steps to do it on their behalf, as has always been. Even though now they have to have their own legal representation, we're helping them to do. But without some form of reward to them when you call them to a meeting, they refuse to come. And then recently I went to the office of the cooperative to get them registered. I operate in one district in the central region of Ghana. So all my farmers come from 7 different communities within the same district. But when I went to the office, the officer told me that I cannot register them under one name, but I have to split into 3 or 4. I don't know if that is possible, since I operate in one district, not 2 districts, and the district is in the central region. So I want an answer from you. Is it true that I have to split the farmers into 3 or 4 groups, or I can register them under one name?
Great. No, thanks, Pepra. Those are very good questions and very good experiences of what you're going through, which is, I think, many people on the call, all that resonates. I'll start with the first one around, forming associations. And it's a little tough because, again, I know this is all driven by the companies, by the businesses who want to continue operating. And again, moving from moving from a situation where we've been doing, and I think we, meaning the companies, have been doing everything for the farmers. You organize, you take their documents, you certify them, you inspect them, you grant by picking. So everything has been run by the company. So farmers are a little crippled in a way that they are still stuck to that old way of doing things. This new way of working will need a little bit of mind shift. And as much as we are doing it with a helping hand, we are helping them to remain part of this. They may not see that longer term vision because they don't understand, I would imagine most of them, these new requirements they're talking about. They will only realize later when they don't see you buy, and then that's when they will wake up. Oh, what happened? What do we have to do? So I think it's your job as much as possible to bring them along. You have to do a lot of awareness. You have to explain what is happening in the market and also show them the implications of this change. That without them doing ABCD as you're trying to help them, they will not be part of the market. They will lose their market. They will not sell. So you need to bring them along. I know there's a lot of hand-holding and support that is needed, but I would say it's necessary. Yes, as much as you're helping them, please bring them along. First, raise as much awareness. Don't just do it for them without actually engaging them, because ultimately they need to take the lead. Issues of motivation, it is, yes, you may, help with a little bit, but when you're going, for example, to the district to talk about registration, who are you going with? Get representative from those farmers or get them to elect a chairperson or somebody and move with that person. Otherwise, that's the only way they will take ownership and they will appreciate what you're doing than you doing it yourself because your company is paying you to do it. Otherwise, it will backfire when ultimately they can't keep it going. On the issue of same districts and, the standard only that limits the number. So long as the number of farmers you're talking about here in the same district are not more than 2,000, the standard does not require you to split them. So long as they are 2,000 and below, you can go ahead and register them as one entity. I don't know how big a district is in Ghana, but I would imagine that farmers within the same district, they qualify under the geographical proximity requirement. So if there is no other consideration or concern from the district, then I think you can explain to them why you want all of them to be in one. Because also there is an issue of commercial viability. Why do we split them into small units that don't, at the end of the day, make business sense? That's a bit of the awareness you also need to raise, that we really want to make that critical mass of an association or a cooperative that can sell a certain quantity of product that they can pay the cost they are incurring in certification, etc., etc. So if it's too small, then it doesn't make business sense. So I would really, I don't have a very good, suggestion because I don't know the context very well, but I would highly recommend that you explain to the district officials why you're doing what you're doing and what you're trying to drive toward. Always put the business goal, ahead and let them really appreciate why you're trying to do it that way. I hope that is helpful. Allow me to see your hand.
Yes, thank you, Brad. So the question I want to ask Bafo is, what does the law say about setting up cooperative? Because we have a law on setting up cooperative in Ghana. So if the law does not accept that, then it will be difficult. So that you're going to the office of the municipal or district, you have to know what the law says, because they have a way, because they know that when they ask you to divide, they're going to make more money because you have to keep doing renewal and things like that. So you'll be paying for 3 groups and all that. So that is their own, they want to make business. They need to generate money. But once you understand what the law says before you go, then you can speak via what the law says and say, the law requires that I can do this. Then they know that you know, and then they will not be able to play around with you. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Allow me. That's a very good comment. I'll run through a
Yes.
few comments in the chat before we continue. I see Bukua
That
saying,
is
what
what I
about?
suspected. So I did not go ahead.
Sorry, Papa. What were you saying? I missed it.
He said that was what he
I
was
said,
suspecting, and it did not go ahead.
just like Ms. Laomi suggested.
Okay.
I,
Okay.
I,
Okay.
I suspected that they want to make money, so I did not go
Okay.
ahead. I came back. But back to the
Okay.
farmers. You see, because the local market is viable, the farmers don't care if you are not buying their fruit or if they are not selling to an organization, because the local market is viable and the prices can even escalate, especially during the season where there is not much fruit in the system. The market price is high. So that becomes difficult when you want to do them into a union or an association. But we are making strides to get them. So yes, thank you so much for the answer.
No, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's a discussion, it's a negotiation. You have to continue until you agree. Ultimately, if they don't see the value in, registering and operating as a group of operators, then you're wasting your effort, because again, you will not qualify because they have to run this ICS and everything, as we shall see in the subsequent session. So I don't want you to waste your energy if you don't bring them along. So Buku, I was saying, what about organic farmer who has been deleted or no longer committed to organic principles? Or just like in the current ICS rule, if a farmer is deleted, then they are deleted. They are no longer part of the ICS, and yeah, that one doesn't change. Mercy is saying, what if someone and a group of violates a few months after attaining the certificate she put on? This is just like you do the same way you're running ICS, where you have procedures for non-compliance. The same applies even in this case. And we shall see in our module 3, when we go into ICS requirements, we shall see all these elements there. So the same, handling of non-compliances, farmers dropping in, going back into conversion, all those, that one continues. It doesn't preclude them because they've violated. There has to be ICS rules to handle that. Can the ICS have organic and in conversion? Yes, it can. And we shall see details when we go to module 3. Please, can I help with his question, since I have been through it? This is Dina. You wanted to help Pepra?
Yes, I wanted to help him.
Okay,
concerning the organic farming. Yes, he can have it. He can have lots of farmers from various regions as being as one, but the only thing is he has to own it. He has to own them. By owning them, as in giving them the platform to ask questions, the platform to operate on their own. With that, they can give you their attention. But when you go and you want to handle them in your own way, it wouldn't help. For instance, I have been able to group all the farmers from all the various regions as one, and they understand it. Mm-hmm. So it's a matter of you bringing them on board, letting them view their concerns, and let them know the importance of being as one. And even being as one, you can go to the registry, Ghana register one association in all their names. So for instance, you can say, let's say, Joe's Organic Association. But being Joe as a organic association, that means that all the regions that you have your farmers, they all come as one. And believe me, if you support them, they would not be a burden of, like, they will not give you the financial burdens, no. But rather they'll give you their concerns and their challenges. Then you go on with it.
Great. Thanks, Dina. That's very helpful. And I hope, Pepra, you can actually connect with Dina also to share a bit more of her experiences and how she navigated those challenges. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, great. So yes, when I say group discussion, this is gonna be and I think we've been trying, a bit drawing a little more attention on the farm size question and requirement. I think you've asked most of them, but we can, have a little discussion around these. Because we hear a lot of questions around, what can be counted, what can't be counted, and wanted to really give a few, more guidance on what those are. Obviously, when we say farm size, again in the current ICS, requirements, you're supposed to register it. You're supposed in the farmers list, you're supposed each farmer you include their total size of land. So that's the first, aspect. They have to be known, they have to be registered within the ICS. So what I would ask for any of you hearing this for the first time, go back to your farmers list and check, the farm size for the total holding for each of your farmers. And, see how many of the farmers you have in your list have more than the 5 hectares that we are talking about here. If you, and of course, a little, I say the equivalent here is 10, no, it's 12, about 12.5 acres, not 10. It took 1 acre, one hectare is 2.47, or 2 to be exact, around it to 2.5. That is a starting point. How many farmers are bigger in terms of size? And then that's where you start. Okay, would they meet the second requirement? Maintain them as part of our group of operators. And then also revisiting the rules that you have in your ICS currently in terms of registering, farm holding. Are we registering everything that this new regulation talks about? Are we capturing all the farmland they're using for producing our commercial crop, including whatever they're using for consumption at home, whatever, all including rented land, etc., etc. Are we covering everything? Because if you're not yet, if in your current rules, you're not registering everything, then that means you are underrepresenting the total holding for your farmers. And that obviously does not guide you well. So that is always the starting point. Look at what you have, go into your rules. If the rules are not clear about that, you need to update it according to the new regulation, update the requirements of farm size in your ICS, and then, continue to assess. If they have bigger than 5 hectares, then what about the cells? Can they comply in terms of the sales requirement? And sales, we're not talking about everything they are selling from their land. We are only talking about organic sales, meaning only what they are selling as organic from that farm, computed based on the farm gate price that they receive. Is that the equivalent of less than 25,000 euros per year, accumulated over 1 year? Then that's what we want to focus on. Obviously, there may be additional interpretations by your certification body, and I want you to pay attention to that. As you talk to your certification body, they'll be telling you any changes in their requirements, in the interpretation of some of these things. But obviously, what we are telling you is really what we pick from the regulation. So elements around, even that little portion where we have farm structures or the farmer's house, do we compute that? I'll leave that, the certification body will tell you. I know most of them don't, because that's not area used for production, but your certification body may have certain requirements around those. Or some of them actually, calculate land based on what is registered, meaning your land title or land registration. Some of them use that, but the regulation talks about land that is used for production, and you can quote that in the event that there's a bit of pushback from the certification body. So, any further questions regarding the farm size, what is included or not included?
Come to the farm
Yes.
size. Hello.
Yes, I can hear you.
Coming to the farm size, does this mean that if you have already measured sizes of the orange farms, you will have to go back and measure the entire land owned by the farmer? Is that the case?
Yes. Even under the old regulation, you always have to, in your farmer's list, you first list the total holding of the farmer, and then you go to the individual crop. You know, for example, if a farmer is selling oranges, then you put oranges and their total acreage. So meaning, for example, if they have 10 hectares and they only have 2 hectares of orange, you need to present both sets of information. The same way you need to do this time around. So if you already have the total land captured well, you already have the land for oranges captured well, then probably you don't need to go back. If you followed the description of total land, especially. I think normally with the orange, if orange is the commercial crop, normally there is no problem in capturing the total land covered by oranges. The problem normally is in capturing the total land owned by that farmer. And remember, total land also includes the land he's using for conventional production, if at all he's producing any conventional product. So, in other words, all the land the farmer is operating has to be part of that total, including what they have rented, etc. has to be part of it. So the total is what normally causes challenges. The land for the commercial crop is always easy to capture. And I wouldn't say problem there. Unless they open a new orchard for oranges, the one they just planted, then you need to include it. If they've opened one or they destroyed an old one, then you need to update that. But if everything is as was, then they shouldn't have a problem. Is that helpful?
Yes.
Thank you.
But I think going further, anytime we have to measure a new farm, then we'll include other holdings as well.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what you have to do. As an ICS, I mean, actually, as we shall see in when you come to module 3, actually, the functioning of the ICS doesn't change. You know, you need to regularly update your farmers list as and when you get new information. That continues even with the new regulation. So the way you've been managing your ICS, that continues. You have to keep updating the farmers list, dropping farmers when they violate, and all those things that you've been doing as we shall. Those ones continue. Updating their farm sizes, etc. That continues, and it doesn't change. It's not a one-time activity that you only do once a year. I see, Vincent, just to clarify, if my priority crop is cocoa, is it a must for me to have polygons of all other land uses and agriculture? I don't know what you mean by polygon. Vincent, could you explain this further? What do you mean by polygon?
Can I help?
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, polygon refers to a protected area where farmers may encroach or they have their farms very close. So if you are making the map, you should indicate whether it is close to a protected area, if it is close to a river that serves as a source of drinking water to the community, so that your activities may not contaminate or erase the land. So you show distances between the protected area and the farmer's farm, indicating that it is not inside or near the protected area where your activities may have effect on it. That is my understanding of the polygon.
Okay, what sometimes we call the buffer zones.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, I think we shall see that in the ICS and which requirements you set as the ICS in terms of preventing contamination, either from your farm into the water sources or from neighboring farms that are using inputs that may not be allowed. Yes, all those elements continue, and your procedures within the ICS will define how much space is allowed and how you make sure that farmers don't violate those requirements. Okay, polygon is a map of the land. Exactly. So the same mapping of land will continue. You still need to do the farm maps, and those ones differ. Different certification bodies have different details of what they want to see on a farm map. Everything as you've been doing, that one continues. You'll still need to do the farm map. And sometimes also that helps to locate your organic vis-a-vis other potential source of contamination and things like that. Yeah, that definitely is still necessary. Great. So let's again, yeah, in the interest of time, let's continue. Yes, with this example. So again, around the farm sizes and total turnover. So as we said, for all farmers greater than 5 hectares, you have to check the turnover of their sometimes the question you may ask, do we do this based on historical information or we do based on what is potentially going to come? It's a bit tricky in real life, to estimate turnover, because even when you say from a particular farm, they are going to produce 5 tons of a given product, rarely do you buy all the 5 tons. So maybe they will sell to you 3 tons and then sell another 2 to the local market. The most authentic way is to look at historical information. So how has this farmer been performing? What kind of sales are they making? Because that's real, it's actual. You can also project if you're certain that you already have commitments to buy a certain amount of volume, you can also project. But I'll personally rely on historical information. What are the actual sales that the farmer has done, and then I compare with the production coming. So if I see then I can estimate based on the range that they've done over the year to do so. But both options are there. You can estimate based on future, if you are assured of how much you're gonna buy from that farmer. So then you can already tell that based on your yield estimate, and the price you're going to pay that farmer within that 1 year, which sometimes is a big, if you have a contract for that, because also prices vary, but you can take an average, then you can say, oh, this farmer will actually buy much more than, or will sell much more than the 25,000 euro equivalent in a local currency. Or you can look at the historical performance and then also make that conclusion based on that. But I've not seen, at least from this, since I started working with this new regulation, any farmer that sells, more than 25,000, and they want to be part of the group of operators, because most of the crops they do, they don't do so much volume. It could be a case, for example, my colleagues from Uganda, if it's vanilla and the prices go through the roof, maybe. But most of the crops we handle, this is rarely an issue that farmers will sell more than 25,000 in a year. And then, so that is when you check the data and then you can, conclude based on that. Or the other option is when you can set certain thresholds as an ICS based on how farmers in that particular area, and then you can say, okay, a farmer, of this acre, on average, should be able to produce and sell this amount of output. Averaged over the price they get, then you know that, okay, they will not go beyond that limit. So that you can also, as an ICS, set certain rules that, a farmer that is of this will produce this and ultimately expect them to get this. And obviously, the certification body will not challenge that. They will rather, because the assumption is you've agreed with farmer. You are a group of operators. You've agreed among yourself that that rule should work for you. Then you can use that. So meaning that if a group of operators brought farmers together and they say, in our group, members should not have more than 4 hectares of land, the certification body will not challenge that. Then they will go with that rule. Or they should not, you should be selling, farmers, because I know in certain areas, if you have a group of operators and then you have big farmers, as when you have like 2 or 3, among the 1,000 who are small, already the farmers feel uncomfortable because you're already in a different income bracket and they tend to feel uncomfortable. So if they have their own rules to limit and not bring in big farmers who obviously sometimes come with other challenges, then those rules can also be accepted as a benchmark for your membership eligibility. Yeah. On this particular subject, we have built our assignment for this week. So assignment A will be about analyzing the farm sizes in your group. So we hope to learn more about what you have in your group. I think, yes, I should be going. If no burning question, if you allow me to go into the second part of our training today, and then we can have more time towards the end to do more discussion. So the question is, what are the implications of these requirements that I've just explained around the group of operators for contract production, which I think all of you on this call, most of you, if not all of you on this call, belong to? What are the implications of these requirements for existing and contracted production? Means you're a company, you're also an exporter. Sometimes you produce, sometimes you don't produce, but you're certified together with farmers. What happens to you? Or you're a cooperative that is having organic, conventional farmers, and you register together. What does that mean? So those are some of the things I want us to look at. As we said in the requirement, and this now quoting what is the requirement, the regulation says, that a group of operators shall be composed of members who are farmers. And of course, including algae or aquaculture operators, and who in addition may be, so they are farmers, but may be also doing some processing or preparation or marketing of their food or feed. So it's primarily they have to be farmers, but they can do other activities, in addition to being farmers. So if that is the requirement, and if you check on my screen on that slide on the right-hand side, then we can't have a company, a trader, also certified as a group of operators. The argument that I've had in another training that, oh, what if the company, I'm also a producer? Then we go back to the definition of a member of a group of operators. What size of land are you producing on? What value of sales are you, making in a year, etc., etc. If you fulfill those, and of course you are registered as part of, remember, even we talked about a legal entity, and you're not registered as a company separately, then you can be part of a group of operators. But if you're a company, then you can't, because you already have a different legal entity from what the farmer. What you see on the left that is the classic definition of a group of operators. It's farmers, typically similar sizes, geographical proximity, and those can be registered as a cooperative, as an association, etc., etc., who can be in that group of operators. So meaning, if you have a company registered contract production, which I've talked about, that needs to be disbanded. So the company needs to take on a different registration as a processor, as a trader, and the farmers also need their own separate registration as a group of operators. So that's the implication of most of you in the company, as I know that you're representing on this call. And if you have questions, we can discuss. So again, spending a little bit more time, what happened? For example, now you have on top left corner, you have your company certified with the farmers under one certificate. In the new regulation, you have to separate. Get a group of operator certificate and just get the processor and trader also to have their own certificate. This one is very clear and there is no negotiation. This is the only way that you can be compliant. So the farmers, like I said, they are primary farmers, but they can do some other activities so long as it's all done by them under their group of operators. So like I said, yes, a new for all of you, and I think that's what one of our colleagues was saying, that she's trying to, establish. So meaning you have to help set up that, and many companies are doing that because farmers have limited capacity to already do that. And it can be composed of, I think somebody had a question, Matthew was asking, organic or in conversion. Yes, both of them can be members. The conventional can, they can be in conversion, that's allowed. And all of them will be with the same legal personality as per the local regulation in the country. So this is really for emphasis. I'm basically just, and that new group of operators will sell or can sell through this new processor or cooperative that now has their own processing and trading certificates and a mutual agreement. But because they have their own certificate, they can also sell to other processors, other traders, other exporters, because they have their own certificates. But of course, on a business-to-business negotiation, you can agree with a new group of operators that they either exclusively sell to you or they commit to a certain percentage to sell to you. That will now be a trade relationship discussion that will move away from certification. For certification, what we want to see is that the group of operators have their own certificates, and then you as a trader have your own certificate. But also the advantage you have that as a trader, you can also buy from different groups of operators. So it's not that for you, it's a disadvantage. You can also buy from different GOs, so long as they have a valid certificate, and process and export. Yeah. So that's a little bit of a silver lining, that it helps, it brings a little bit of flexibility on both the company, the processor and trader, but also on the farmer. So meaning that it gives you a little bit of agency to discuss. If this one does not give you good terms, then you can negotiate, etc. Which I think ultimately, in the beginning, is a challenge. But when farmers rise up to the occasion, then it will be good for them, because then they can choose who to deal with and whoever gives them good terms. I think we talked about the legal personality. Again, we are repeating it for emphasis. That is defined according to the context where they are. Is it a farmer association? Is it a community enterprise? Is it a farmer producer company? Is it a farmer cooperative? I think that will depend on where you are, but it has to be registered to conduct business. And of course, they have their rules when to take in, on top of what the standard has prescribed. The group of operators can have additional rules of who they bring into their group or not, because now they are an entity. They can prescribe more rules in addition to what the organic certification requires. They can define additional rules in terms of gender, Maybe they want a certain percentage between male and female. They even whatever, it really makes sense for them to operate um, confidently or you know, as a group, they can add more requirements. It doesn't mean that the regulation, they should only do it for that regulation. They should do it for them because yes, they may be doing organic production, but they can do many other things as a group of operators. They can be doing some savings and loaning to each other. They can be doing some businesses together in a group business or something. So when you're trying to bring these farmers together to register as a group of, try to show them the bigger picture of many other things they can do together. Not only for certification, but if you can create more, show them more opportunities of how they can work together, how they can support each other, how they can even generate additional income, you know, because as we shall discuss, you know, when they are a group of operators, they also have to pay for certification, which is a cost, you know. So the more they think outside the box to do more things as a group, to have more income streams, then it strengthens that bond, you know, for them to be a more productive group and a more long-lasting group. Because, I mean, now this is off record. What if tomorrow there is no more exports to the EU? Should the group disband because Europeans don't want to buy anything from them? No, they can still remain together. They can still also, as a group of, they can still mobilize other crops within the group and sell to the local market. You know, maybe they are registered for mangoes or oranges, but maybe half of them are producing onions or whatever other products. They can still collectively market that. It's not part of the organic certification, but as a group, they can still bring it all together and sell it and negotiate and go into contracts with other buyers of that particular crop and things like that. So it's important, even as companies, as we are supporting these farmers to continue maintaining their certification, that we have this kind of mind-opening sessions, awareness, and showing them the bigger picture. I think that's when we shall achieve more than just narrowing our focus towards the standard one. Of course, so long as they comply with the standard, then they can do other things. That's what I'm trying to say. How can a completely new and inexperienced farmer organization suddenly manage the ICS as well as do business? I mean, this is a question we hear all the time. Yes, it's not as obvious that you just move them from yourself, a company manage the ICS and then throw it, you know, to the farmers and they run it. No, it doesn't. We know, and the EU knows it's going to be challenging. That's why they are giving. First of all, they gave 3 years for this transition to happen, which is ending December 2024. And now they've even added a derogation period until October because they know that it's not going to be an obvious fix that, you know, the farmers are going to do. Yes, it requires a lot of dialogue between the company and the farmers. Let the farmers go into this with their open eyes. Let's try to open their eyes to understand what they are going into. Like Mike, I think Pepper was saying that they already, you know, the local market is already lucrative. They are getting good prices, but you can show them that yes, even, you know, being a group of operators does not stop you from service in the local market. But what means that now you'll be a more efficient group. You'll probably even, as a unit, you can even negotiate better with the local market. So again, let's show them the bigger picture of why they are coming together. So to enable this transition from the company to the farmer, the EU allows some flexibility, especially as that transition is happening. That's what you're seeing at the bottom of this slide. You know that the ICS can even continue being partly managed by the company only on secondment or appointment. Meaning, so if, again, sorry, Pepper, because that's who I see on my screen. So I'm using you as the example. If your company you've been managing that ICS before, but now you're transitioning to the group of operators setup. Your company can pay you to help that group of operators to set up, meaning you're a seconded ICS manager by the company to help the group of operators. And that's okay in your trade relationship, meaning, as you said, the group of operators is going to be a different entity and the company is a different entity. You can also, in your business relationship agreement, you can include that for the first year or for 2 years, the company will pay for the ICS manager to help. So meaning you will be ideally an employee of the group of operators, but seconded by the company. Meaning it's the company that pays you, but you are operating on behalf of the group of operators. That one, there is a little flexibility, especially in the early days, because farmers will not pick up these things. First of all, they need to have some money resources, some reserves to pay for you, which in the beginning they may not have. They need to set up, do all these procedures, ICS documentation, help with, doing all that. And that is acknowledged that in the beginning, farmers cannot do it on their own. So there is a window, which I think is good, that most of you can still help those groups of operators to comply. So we've looked at the contract production, which most of you belong to. Now let's look at the Farmers Association. And I think somebody had a question. The same. In the Farmers Society, with on organic and in conversion, things are okay. And so long as they are not more than 2,000 farmers, then they just continue. They don't even have to change anything. They just, meaning they're already registered under the local law, and everything continues. They don't really have to change anything. So long as they only maybe check if the farmers are meeting the individual farmer criteria in terms of land size and annual sales turnover. But otherwise, everything continues if they are not more than 2 farmers. The only challenge, as I mentioned before, is when in that cooperative they are conventional farmers. They'll need a sub registration of only organic farmers, not and leave the conventional one in the mother cooperative. Because the whole idea is not to disband the cooperative. Legally, you may have a cooperative of about, let me assume it's a cooperative of 3,000 farmers. For purposes of this compliance, we are not allowed to be more than 2 farmers. So if there are 3, then they will need to divide into subgroups. So they may have one with 2,000 and maybe 1,000, or one with 1,500 and another one with 1,000, whatever makes sense. Or one with 1,800 and one with 1,200, whatever makes sense. But they will have to separate in two entities and registered, but all still together belonging to one, collective one, because for some cooperatives, they already have assets and other things which can't be just divided like that. But so long as they have a legal entity in this 1,500 or 1,800 or 2,000 and this other one. The other way to split is when you have 3,000 members in a cooperative, but maybe, maybe let me talk about, maybe 2,000 are organic and 1,000 are not organic. So what will happen is that we shall get the 2,000 and register them in a separate entity. That's all still subscribing to the mother cooperative. But we have our organic continuing separately, and the conventional, they don't have to form a group. If they want, they can also form a group. If they don't, they can just subscribe to the mother. But for organic certification, we need that subgroup to be a legal entity in its own right. That's the only requirement that the standard one. I think I see some hands. No, Margaret, does it mean that once the ICS has organic and conversion, still the minimum the maximum, not the minimum. Yes, we are counting individual farmers. So both organic and in conversion, they should not be more than 2,000. So the maximum number is 2,000. And oh, allow me the answer here. Great. Sorry. Okay. So this is, and I think somebody was asking, cooperative with non-organic members. Again,
Brian, sorry,
yes.
Brian, your screen is not showing here.
Oh,
Or am
you
I
don't see my,
Yeah.
anybody else? All of you can see my screen?
Can we see Brian's screen? Can we all see?
If he's sharing another thing, I think it's a cooperative with non-organic members. That one we can
Yeah.
see. If he's sharing anything new, no.
Okay, that's what I'm sharing. I'm not sharing anything new. So I think allow me to be on your side.
Yes, we can see that.
Okay, great. They can see it. Okay. No, this is, let's continue. So, like I said, this I've already explained it. That the group of operators are only organic and in conversion. So, if the cooperative has non-organic members, they have to split. They have to form a separate subgroup of organic farmers and register as a legal entity. That is simply what this slide is trying to say, and I've already explained it. So, and I also hinted on this, giving it as an example. What is the implication when a farmer's association, sorry for that spelling, with more than 2,000 farmers? Yeah, they have to split. They have to split into, if, for example, there are 3,000, they can also even split into 3 entities, again, depending on what makes sense in the context. But remember, there is a cost attached to any, so whatever makes sense, but our illustration here shows 2. They can split in 2 of them, one 600 and the other one 400, and each one gets their own certificate. But they still can be connected to their mother larger cooperative. It doesn't mean that the larger cooperative is disbanded, and for some of these larger cooperatives, they continue doing the processing and the trading. So you have the subgroups having their own certificate, all channeling and selling through their mother or larger cooperative, who also have to get their certificate as the processor and trader or exporter to be able to sell as organic. And somewhere there is a note, yes, that a group may appoint an external ICS team, or it could appoint the ICS manager of the currently certified. Yeah, I think this will, like we saw it for the company, we can still have the ICS manager from the company supporting or being appointed or delegated to support the new group of operators. Even for the large cooperative, they can still do the same. They can appoint or delegate ICS manager, including inspectors, to support those sub or smaller entities to get certification. So that one remains. Okay, yeah. Thank you for the reminder in terms of time. This one is okay. Implications, I think, as we said, this is a summary of what I've said. All company groups can't continue to be part of the group of operators. They have to be certified separately and get their own legal entity. For cooperatives that have more than 2,000 farmers, they have to split. Large farmers will have to have their own individual certification. And the non-organic definitely also have to be, the cooperatives with both organic and non-organic have to be, separately managed. And yeah, I think this is just a summary of what I've been saying. So in a few minutes, and I want to take I just wanted to, again, going through this group of organic definition, which I think most of us could be interested. But most important, I wanted to flag that this is, again, the cases are different. We are coming, some of you are coming from, I don't think any of you are coming from a cooperative, most of you are coming from contract production. Really how to navigate this. Look at your current registration, look at your location of the farmers, who is doing what, who is doing the processing, how is the purchasing being handled, all the issues somebody was, I think Pepper was talking about, farmers not being interested, etc., etc. This one is going to constitute your second part of the assignment for this week, and you will see it. So basically, we also want you to take time to reflect on your structure you have and what you think would make sense in terms of continuity of the certification. So this will be, I just wanted to flag, this is going to be part of the second part of the assignment. Again, all you're doing, you're looking at the requirements on one side and then looking at what you have and then highlighting the changes that you need to make it compliant. What a simple assignment you have to do. So, yeah, allow me, you want to take us through this summary, next step? And then we can see if there are any questions, we can answer them maybe towards the end.
Yes, thank you very much, Brian, for the presentation today. On Friday, we're going to have a debriefing session. And for the debriefing session, you are going to have your assignment. You are going to find the assignment on the e-learning platform, which I will show after this. And then you have submitted the assignment before Friday, meaning that by Thursday, close by Wednesday, the assignment is submitted. Latest Thursday morning, the assignment is submitted because we have to review it, we have to mark it, and then get it ready for Friday class session. And then 2 participants will present their farm size, the analysis of finding from the assignment. So 2 people will be informed that they will be presenting. So every week there's an assignment. So definitely you are going to get to present the following week. And the assignment is a build-up of each other. So it is better to do the first assignment, which is due last week. Then the second one is today. And then not forgetting that to have your certificate, it is 100% of assignments submitted and 100% of the quiz. So meaning that you have attempted even the expectation, pre-survey expectation before, that is on the introductory tab, you've done that. So everything that has to do with quiz, you have done everything before you can have your certificate. It is only the attendance that is a bit flexible, that we have about 70%, because we know that things do happen at every point in time. We are going to have a whiteboard session, which the group of operators member eligibility check will be in ICS procedure. We're going to do a kind of review, what is going to be on the checklist. Is this, is it not going to be this? And then we'll try to have a brain exercise, or brainstorming exercise, to see that we're actually on point. And then also we're going to have the sharing organization setup analysis and discussion in subgroups. So there's going to be a breakout session, and there is going to be discussion about all that we have learned in week 1, and more information about contract production companies, how they are going to navigate, or how they should navigate with the option for new organization setup, and how the farmers are supposed to be set up, how you're supposed to manage or co-manage with the farmers and things like that. So also, you're supposed to do the quiz. The quiz is now open, so you can go back to review what you have done today after we put up the video for today, and then you can. The quiz is open till Sunday, so you can take your time to do the quiz. It's only just the assignment that is due. Also, I noticed that some of us have not registered on the e-learning platform. So if you have not registered on the e-learning platform, it will be very, very difficult for you to do the assignments. We cannot take the assignment manually, and you cannot do the quiz manually. So everything is being done on the Collate e-learning platform. And the first step is that you register for the course. And everyone has been sent the email, has been sent the key for registration for this course. If you're still having any challenge throughout the week and the weekend, a lot of people reach out and they've been able to register. So if you have any challenge, don't keep quiet. Go ahead and communicate with us, and we will help you navigate how to get on the e-learning platform. Brian, can you stop sharing for a minute so that I can share my screen and show us exactly where the assignment and the quizzes for the week? Okay, thank you, Brian. Let's see, share my screen now. 1 minute. Okay. Okay. Can we all see my screen? So this is the course page that you're going to see once you log in, and then you can navigate to.
I hope they can see it. Just confirm. On my side, it's still loading.
Other weeks which we are.
Allow me, are we speaking? Can anyone hear allow me?
Sorry,
I can't?
Yeah, sorry about that.
Okay.
Yeah, my internet went off. Sorry. Yeah. So like I was saying, once you go on the group page.
I think you need to share again.
Yes, I need to share again. Thanks, Brian. Okay. Okay, can we all see my screen? Yes, now. So once you go on the week 1, and then you see the session here, you're going to see the recording. At the end of today, you will find the recording there, and then you can also download the PowerPoints that Brian has shared with us today. So all the information that you need is there that he has shared, so you can use to read and watch the video also. And then here comes the assignment. You see the group composition and setup. This is where the assignment is and is due by Wednesday at latest Thursday morning, because we have to review it. We have to pick the person that will present on Thursday. We have to also give you feedback of like scoring it to know that every assignment is going to be scored. So it has to be scored, it has to be graded, and then there's going to be a feedback for you to know whatever you have done correctly or things that you need to improve on. And then you come here
I think we lost Alaomi for a moment. Just give her a few minutes.
that we put there, also what we have learned this week. There's a column where we put what we have learned this week, and I will put 5 things that we have actually learned this week. So that's the assignment, the whole assignment that we have for this week. And once you are able to finish one of the activity, please click on done so that it shows that you are done. The system automatically marks that you have done that activity. If you do not click on done, it will still be showing that you have not done the activity. And then at the end of the day, if you don't have 100% showing completed on the platform, your certificate, it will be difficult to actually download your certificate. Please ensure if you have any further communication or inquiries, or you're not clear about anything, kindly send a WhatsApp message and then you will get it done. If you don't feel comfortable on the WhatsApp group page, then you can do that on our private chat. So I also want to find out, Joy, are you on the WhatsApp page? Because you are actually the only person that I'm not too sure you're on the WhatsApp page. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining today. I will kindly stop sharing so that if we have any other information, any other